Go ahead. You got. Oh, exactly. Yeah, go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning.
Call the executive committee meeting for Tuesday, March 27th to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Tripp.
Present.
Mr. Washington.
Present.
Mr. Legess. Mr. Vickery. Mr. Olthoff. Mr. Hess.
Present.
Mr. McConnell.
Present.
Mr. Scott. Mr. Snipes.
Present.
Mr. Byrne.
Present.
Mr. Seroy. Ms. Weber. Mr. Lear.
Present.
Mr. Wheeler.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have no public comment this morning. It's not too late. You got anything to say? Burn, keep control of your kids back there. All right, thanks. No presentations. Approval of minutes, February 27th, 2018. Motion to approve. Mr. McConnell, Mr. Byrne is the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Moving on to legislative. Mr. Lear, do you have anything to share this morning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's three bills that UCCI is following a little bit. One of them really applies to small counties because a large part of the membership of UCCI is small counties. It has to do with audits. The way we perform audits already meets the standards of this bill, so that's not really an issue. A second bill has to do with a person who's been convicted as a sexually dangerous person. I briefly mentioned this previously. Hopefully that bill's not going to go anywhere. If it does, there's going to be a major cost to the county because it'll shift from the Department of Corrections to county responsibility for filing bills for those individuals after they've been convicted and when they go on appeal. But that one we just have to keep watching. The third bill that is one of concern to UCCI is one that our own Eric Blair is working very hard on, dealing with evaluation of solar farms. There are actually two different bills in the legislature. One's a House bill, which has been largely composed by the assessors and the assessors organization, with Mr. Blair being one of the prime leaders in constructing that bill. A second bill has been put forward in the legislature by the industry. It's in the Senate. I talked to Eric this morning. He had just gotten back from a vacation and indicated that while he was gone, there was a conference call that sounds like it may make some issues. So I think he's going to need to want to talk to you, Mr. Chairman, in terms of the politics of the bill and see what can be done, because the chief sponsor of the bill the assessors have, Lou Lang, is pushing for a compromise that would significantly reduce the value placed on those solar farms. So that's going to have to be looked at closely and see whether we need to, what we need to do. And if members of this committee have any thoughts, do we allow solar farms to have a significantly lower level of valuation than wind farms? What Mr. Blair and the assessors are proposing is something that would try to keep the valuation of solar farms roughly comparable to the valuation of wind farms. So members of this committee may want to chime in terms of whether they think solar farms should get some kind of a preference over wind farms. That seems to be the essence of what I heard from Mr. Blair this morning.
You mean solar taking a backseat to wind as far as valuation? They shouldn't get preferential treatment. You're thinking they should get.
In effect, what I heard him saying was that the valuation of a solar farm would be significantly less than the kind of valuation put on wind farms.
Right.
And they'd get a better break.
Mm-hmm. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Yeah. You know, I think obviously we would prefer Mr. Washington, please.
Wouldn't it depend on the
value that they get out of the solar farms versus the wind farms?
I think what the Eric's and the assessor's work is to break it down to kilowatt hour type production.
Yeah.
And that made it equal on both sides.
Okay.
And the valuation, and you have to forgive me, but there's a lot of minutia within that, but that was to try to tie the two together so it was fair and equitable between the two, because a kilowatt hour is a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
No matter how much land you're taking out of production to generate it.
Right.
So if they built in the size of the farms per acre, per kilowatt hour, all of that stuff. So I think basically it sounds like what you're saying, Mr. Lear, is that they're looking at the industry says they obviously don't want to be assessed so high because there's more of a profit margin involved in their business model. That's what I'm hearing, and that's what I'm hearing from Springfield as well. There was bipartisan support on the bill as it was in the House, substantial. And it seems to me that it may have went a little sideways in the Senate to where the industry might have gotten a little bit more friendly treatment on profit margin. And from what you're saying, Lou Lang or Representative Lang is kind of acquiescing to that pressure from the Senate?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Don't like it.
So if there's any other thoughts, I can, maybe pass that along to our representative. And, obviously it's a substantial minority situation as far as getting it through the House, but at least to let our thoughts be known. And I think our representative knows because I've been in contact with her about that. So obviously we thought it may end up somewhere in the middle. But if it goes as what had happened here in the meeting, the gentleman mentioned on the low side, and stuck with on the low side, compromise usually means that everybody gives up something, I would think. So, but this is Illinois. So, any other thoughts? Thank you, Mr. Lear. Is there anything else?
The only other thing, if anyone's interested, there was a very good presentation at UCCI by Kent Renfield, who is Professor Emeritus at University of Illinois at Springfield, a presentation on the some of the numbers behind the primary election that took place a week ago, and particularly noting the amount of money that was raised and spent. So if you're interested in any of those specific figures, I can give you either a source or I can make a copy of some of his handouts, just a two-page handout.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lear? All righty, thank you. Moving on. Information services. Kevin, do you have anything today? Thank you.
In your packets, I believe you should have a copy of a surplus equipment that we have. And spring now, these items are in our way. We need to get rid of them now that the weather's broke. We need to declare all these surplus. Throughout the year, I'll bring some more to it, but these are specifically in the way. Since we're doing a refresh, we need the room in our areas to set up the new computers or the refurbished computers that we're doing now. A little update on these items. None of these items are able to be fixed. They're basically carcasses that we've taken parts out of them to keep other things going. So if they're on this list, they're done.
If you're throwing away,
Right.
I know
They're gone. Exactly. So
I'll make a motion.
All right, I'm sorry. You make the motion?
Make a motion,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Second, Mr. Tripp. Any questions about the carcasses?
and then just an update on the
Hold on. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Please. I'm sorry.
an update on the refreshment project. In this building, the 6th floor is all done. The 5th floor is now done. We've done refreshing of the administration office. All the computers in that office have in the auditor's office, which include Jake, his new person, and 2 interns that they have. None in the auditors are new machines. There are machines that we've rebuilt, partly some from these parts that we have here, but they all have the newer operating system that allows us to go 4 or 5 years from this date and to stretch farther and going on. We've done this floor too, which would include Brian's office. So he has, I believe, 4 machines in that office. We've done those. We've stopped in this building because now the circuit clerk has agreed to start her refresh project and she's paying for them. Her office is much bigger than everyone else, so she purchased 10. We shifted over to there. We'll do those 10. We have to do them slowly so we don't take workers out of her flow when she does that. When she's done, we'll come back to this building and do a few more, and we'll go back for, once again, this is about a 2-year project. We're trying to do it in this manner so it doesn't cost the board any more additional money, and we don't take anybody out of production while we do it. So that's a refresh. Now, every couple months, I'll keep you up where we're going, and if any snag we have, I don't foresee a situation, but you should be aware of what we're doing. And that'd be it.
Any questions? Thank you. Have a good one. Moving on, Health Department. John Beavis, anything today? Nope, nothing? All right. Nothing on the rats? Whatever happened with the rats? I'm just kidding. Don't bring up the rats.
John,
Speaking of rats,
Oh, if you want, do you want that mic back there?
Yeah.
If why don't you take that one? No offense, but it's a shorter trip.
Oh, man.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I'm just saying that I know there was a issue in the 18th district or whatever, and I got a chance to call your health department. They called and took care of everything or whatever, and they came out after. I know I didn't get a chance to come and pick up the record, but I did know that I called some of your staff, and then they responded and got everything to where it had to be and showed them, and it worked out. So just to thank you or whatever. From time to time, people do call on the county board. For some reason, they think I'm part of the city, but in that case, it was the county, an issue under the county, and so as a result, just made a phone call down to you all. They was able to rectify, do what they had to do. The person brought everything up, and then everything was amicable after that, so thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll let them know.
All right. Moving on to schools, Dr. Murphy, not here, but we do have the quarterly report of the regional superintendent of schools. Motion to approve, Mr. Legess. Second, Mr. Byrne. We have a quorum, so I don't. Oh, you are a member of this. Sorry about that. No offense. I have to always remember the vice chairman's not a member of the committee. You'll get the next one. You got next. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. Moving on to VAC, monthly reports. Karen's here. Motion to approve the monthly report is contained in your packet. Mr. Hess, second. Mr. Lear? All right, Mr. Lear. All those in favor? Those opposed? Morning.
Hi there. I don't really have anything too big to report, but we do have a new bus sitting out back. I don't know that any of you have seen that, but that came from IDOT. Not purchased. It cost us a whole $153 for title and licensing on it. So that is a great thing. We are looking to get rid of the other one. I do have a message into Jim Rowe about whether we have to declare it a surplus or not, because it was actually a donation by the DAV and the Marine Corps League. So technically, we don't know if it's really county property or not. So kind of waiting to see what we have to do with that.
I think it's licensed to us. That's why I said get a hold of Jim. He'll
Yeah.
tell us. Yeah.
So
he'll be able to-
Jim
yeah.
has to tell us what to do. So I have an email into him to see what the thing is. It's titled under the Veterans Assistance Commission. So, but other than that, I mean, our job posting is out until Friday, and then we'll do our interviewing starting next week, I would assume, if we can get everybody together. Other than that, we're good to go.
Any
Anybody?
questions? Short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
If you can express to your board, I didn't get a chance to talk with them or whatever, but thank them for the amicable time. They allowed individuals to talk and the whole 9 yards, and they were very, relaxed. They didn't hold them to any minutes or anything else. They heard them out and did what they had to do. Very professional. A little laughter in the place, the whole 9 yards or whatever. So tell them for me that I said thank you
Absolutely.
for the professionalism and I know they kind of just let the time go to hear everyone, whether that's applaudable or whether, especially when it's coming from the public to the board. They took the time to listen, and that speaks a great deal of volume. And then a great group of guys. It's the first time I got a chance to see them all in a room together. Thanks.
You're absolutely all more than welcome to come anytime. In fact, our meeting's tonight, 6:30 is our full commission meeting, so anybody's more than welcome to come, so. Okay, thank you.
All right. No personnel HR issues at the moment. Administrative issues, appointments. Appointment of Troy Kaufman to the Joe Bennis Drainage District. I need a motion to approve. Mrs. Weber. Second, Mr. Legess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All righty. Moving on to openings. One opening on the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission. One opening on the Board of Examiners and Appeals, commercial contractor position. One opening on the Manteno Drainage District number 3. Also on the Manteno number 9 Drainage District. The Will Kankakee Regional Development Authority. One opening on the Kankakee County Board of Review. And opening on the Kankakee River Valley Forest Preserve District Board. Another on the Bourbonnais, or is it Bourbonnais Fire Protection District? That's Bourbonnais, I think, isn't it? Yeah. One on the Cabri Area Fire Protection District. The Essex Township Fire Protection District. There's 2 openings there. One on the Grant Park Fire Protection District. One on the Greater Moments Fire Protection District. One on the Kankakee Township Fire Protection District. Another on the Limestone Fire Protection District. One on the Manteno Community Fire Protection District. One opening Pilot Township Fire Protection District. 2 on the Reddick Community Fire Protection District, and 1 opening on the St. Anne Fire Protection District. So it's Fire Protection District month here at the county. So those letters have gone out or are going out shortly. They're out. You're on top of it. Other business, is there anything else for consideration? Yes, Mr. Lear?
Did we miss personnel issues? Did you say anything in terms of?
That'll come mainly in finance tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I noticed we had the handout on the staffing report.
Yeah, that, for some reason, that was gonna be done tomorrow. I apologize for that. Yeah, it's for tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for finance. But if you have any questions about it, we could,
No questions.
if there's any questions there, it's just a 2-month total, because we missed it last month. So we have it out there. We'll talk about it more in finance tomorrow, obviously. But please, if you have questions, anyone, please let me know. No information at this point. Old business, resolution authorizing the county board chairman to sign the Enbridge Pipeline Settlement Agreement and Mutual Release to get going. Motion to approve. Mr. Washington, second. Mrs. Weber. So I don't know if for any clarification, did you want to make mention of anything, just so the board, you've got the information there. It's just an ending of that agreement.
Yeah, this is just a settlement agreement to wrap things up for the Enbridge pipeline. It's been in operation for 2 years. We're just releasing their bond. There were no highway issues that we encountered. Very minor stuff, but it was all taken care of. So yeah, this will release them from the bond and settle the agreement.
Okay. Any questions on that? That one is a roll call vote, just to be sure.
Mr. Tripp?
Aye.
Mr. Washington? Mr. Legess? Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. McConnell? Mr. Snipes? Mr. Byrne? Ms. Weber? Mr. Lear? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. All righty. Moving on. I guess it's 9:20 with the quickness. It's because Mr. Legess is back. We are waiting for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Legess, is there a second?
Don't forget to sign.
Is there a second? Oh, Mr. Hess. Sorry, I thought you were waving at me. Sorry. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. Have a good day, and don't forget to sign, please, before you go.